The photo camera of the OnePlus 6 makes quite a good jump in terms of quality compared to its predecessor. In this video, we're going to talk about the photo camera and its features. The OnePlus 6 comes with a dual camera again, one 16 and one 20 megapixel sensor. Both come with an f1.7 aperture. The second camera turns on under a certain level of brightness and is supposed to help with low light. This is the same technology as used on the 5T. What's new here is that the main sensor comes with optical image stabilization. Electronic image stabilization is still there, like on the Pixel 2, but with OIS you can get even more out of your pictures, may it be low light images or videos. So let's have a look at the photo camera app and its settings. In this menu we can, for example, turn on the flash or turn it off or set it to automatic. We can also choose the aspect ratio, which can be 1:1, 19:9 or 4:3. You cannot choose any other aspect ratio like 16:9, that is not possible here, so let's go with 4:3. You can also turn on HDR, turn it off or set it to automatic. I personally set it to automatic because the camera usually knows quite well when to use HDR or not. Also, we can do basic things like turning on the timer, which goes up to 10 seconds. We can also tap to focus or use the slider to change the brightness. We can also tap and hold to have an AF lock, so the autofocus and the brightness will be fixed. Another cool thing is that we have a 2x zoom. It is pretty much lossless, which is great. It also works really well in low light, which with most smartphones is not the case because the TLA sensor usually gets deactivated during low light. But here you don't have that problem. If you like, you can also zoom up to 8 times, but then it's basically digital zoom. What you can also do here is to switch to portrait mode. Here the depth effect, is the bokeh effect basically is fixed, so you can't change it. But you have some other things to play with, like you can turn on a beauty mode. You can also change the shape of the bokeh balls, like you can make it like ball shaped. You can make it, let's see, heart shaped or star shaped. Basically, if you have light sources in the far back, they will have a star shape or heart shape or a bokeh ball. Of course, you can also switch to the front camera. Now you can see me talking into the camera, and well, the settings that you have here are basically beauty mode, which is in this case a bit more enhanced. So, you know, now I look handsome, now I look super beautiful. Basically, that's the difference. You have a slider here, and you also can turn on this smile shutter. So let's set it to 2 seconds. So as soon as I smile, it will start to take a picture of me. If we go back in this menu, we have different modes to play with. We of course I already showed you the portrait mode, and we will also have a portrait mode for the front camera, but that will come out directly after the launch, so right now I cannot show you anything about that. The video modes I will talk about in a separate video, but what's more interesting are the photo modes. So we have panorama. This is very simple. So basically you just follow the line, take some pictures. It's a panorama shot. Not very interesting. But what's more interesting is the pro mode. Here you have a bit more settings, like you can choose to shoot in RAW, which is always great if you want to work with Lightroom and so on. And you have a lot of settings here on the side, which is pretty much any type of camera setting you might need. If you have a fixed setting that you need for certain circumstances, you can also set it up here, and then in this menu you can save it as a custom setting basically. Other than that, we have the general settings, which we can access by opening up this menu and pressing the wheel here on the top left. So here we can turn on geotagging, so the location of the photos is saved. We can turn on the shutter sound, which I like to have turned off. You can also turn on quick capture. With this one, you double tap on the power button during standby and the camera will immediately take a photo. Another thing you can set up is the grid here, so you can choose 3:3, 4:4 or the golden ratio. I personally like to choose 3:3. This is actually the setting that you should use the most. When we go back, there is of course even more. We have the rear camera beauty mode, so you can use beauty mode with the rear camera. We have the shot on OnePlus watermark. Then what you can also do is you can invert selfies. The save normal photo setting is actually pretty good, because in this setting, if you take a portrait mode, the normal picture will also save. So if you don't like the portrait, then you can always use the normal selfie. And the last two settings is basically histogram and horizontal reference lines, which you will see in the Pro mode. What the OnePlus 5T couldn't deliver in comparison to premium smartphones is the camera, because it was just good for the price. The OnePlus 6 makes a good jump in quality compared to the 5T. Colors, contrast, dynamic range, and more look really good, and images are sharp. Pictures are not too oversaturated, as we know from other manufacturers, and are good for post-processing. Generally, I really do like images taken with the OnePlus 6. Even the 2x zoom looks great since it's almost lossless. As I mentioned before, we also have a portrait mode, which really reminds me a little bit of the Google Pixel 2, of which the bokeh effect I like the most. It definitely seemed to be inspired by that. Now we have to wait and see how good the portrait mode of the front camera will be when it comes out after the launch. The OnePlus 6 is also great with low light images. This definitely is supported by the f1.7 aperture and the new optical image stabilization. With that, images are sharp and lit pretty well. Even in comparison with the Huawei P20 Pro, the OnePlus 6 comes quite close. Of course, the bonus feature of the P20 Pro is the night mode, where you can do 6-second long exposures by hand, which the OnePlus 6 can't do, but the automatic mode does a pretty good job. Inside the notch of the OnePlus 6 is the front camera. I like it quite a lot since it comes with good dynamic range, many details, and a good low light performance and more. Of course, there is the beauty slider too if you like to have softer skin. I personally really like the camera of the OnePlus 6, and I think that we finally got the flagship camera we needed. And it's actually one that is really well balanced. This way it comes much closer to premium smartphones than ever before. So that was the photo camera of the OnePlus 6. Do you have any questions? Ask them in the comment section. If you like this video, I'd be happy if you'd give us a like, otherwise the dislike button is right next to it. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future content, and watch my tips and tricks for the OnePlus 6. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Umit for Mobile Geeks.